Nathan Carter had fought in deserts halfway across the world, faced enemies who were ruthless, and survived situations that would make most men crumble. But none of that prepared him for the nightmare of dealing with Karen. After retiring from the military, Nathan had built his dream home. A sturdy, well-designed house sitting on a peaceful suburban lot. It was a place meant for relaxation, for finally enjoying the fruits of his years of service. The property was perfect. A backyard large enough to work on his classic Mustang, a garage well-stocked with tools, and just enough distance from neighbors to enjoy some peace and quiet. Or so he thought. Karen, the self-proclaimed ruler of the neighborhood and president of the HOA, had other plans. It started small, passive-aggressive comments when Nathan put up an American flag on his porch. Then came the notes. At first, they were about trivial things, a supposed violation because his grass was 1 inch taller than regulation, or a warning for parking his truck in his own driveway. Nathan ignored the pettiness. He had dealt with worse. But the final straw came when he found a bright yellow HOA violation notice taped to his shed. Unauthorized structure. Must be removed within 14 days or face fines. Nathan frowned as he reread the note. His shed had been there long before he moved in. It wasn't an eyesore, wasn't bothering anyone. It was his property. But that didn't seem to matter to Karen. As if on cue, she appeared, marching toward him in her usual smug fashion. Clipboard in hand, a phone practically glued to her palm, as if waiting to call enforcement the moment he objected. "Mr. Carter," she began, her voice dripping with condescension. "I see you've received your notice." "I did." Nathan folded his arms, his stance firm. "And I also see this shed has been here for years." "What's the issue?" Karen clicked her tongue. "You should have read the updated community guidelines. Any structure that doesn't meet HOA approval must be reapplied for. And since there's no record of your shed in the current registry." Nathan cut her off. "So, what you're saying is that I have to ask for permission to keep something that was already here." She flashed a sickly sweet smile. "Exactly. And until it's officially approved, it's a violation. The fine stands. Failure to comply will result in further penalties, possibly legal action." Nathan inhaled slowly, keeping his temper in check. He had faced worse adversaries than Karen, but few had been so annoying. "That's funny," he said calmly, "because I checked the county records, and this shed was approved before your little HOA even existed." Karen's smile faltered. She hadn't expected him to do his homework. "That doesn't matter," she said, regaining her composure. "HOA rules supersede any prior arrangements." Nathan chuckled, shaking his head. "Lady, that's not how the law works." Karen's face darkened. "Well, if you refuse to comply, I'll have to escalate this." Nathan raised a brow. "Is that a threat?" She smirked. "Just the rules, Mr. Carter." With that, she turned and strutted away, already dialing her phone. Nathan watched her go, jaw tightening. He wasn't about to be bullied off his own land. If Karen wanted a fight, she had just picked the wrong opponent. HOA's first power move. The next morning, Nathan stepped onto his porch and found a bright red violation notice taped to his front door. This time with a $750 fine attached. Failure to comply with HOA regulations regarding unauthorized structures. Immediate action required. Nathan exhaled sharply, crumpling the paper in his hand. Less than 24 hours. Karen wasted no time. Before he could even turn to head back inside, a smug voice called out from the sidewalk. "Good morning, Mr. Carter. I see you received your notice." Nathan looked up to find Karen standing there, arms crossed, a satisfied smirk plastered on her face. Behind her, a couple of other HOA board members lingered, pretending to admire someone's landscaping while clearly eavesdropping. "You move fast," Nathan muttered, stepping down onto his driveway. Karen tilted her head. Efficiency is key when maintaining a respectable community. Nathan waved the fine. "You think this is respectable? Slapping people with ridiculous fines overnight." Karen's smile didn't waver. "It's not ridiculous. It's the rules." Nathan took a slow breath. He had dealt with people like this before. Stubborn, power-hungry, willing to twist regulations just to get their way. "Well, I did my own research," he said, voice calm but firm. "This shed was approved before the HOA was formed. That means your little rulebook doesn't apply." Karen's smile faltered for a brief second before she adjusted her glasses and flipped through her clipboard. "Regardless, the current guidelines require an official reapproval process. And I don't see your application." Nathan smirked. "That's because I'm not submitting one." Karen let out a fake, exaggerated sigh. I was hoping you'd be reasonable, Mr. Carter. But if you refuse to comply, I'm afraid we'll have to take further action. Nathan crossed his arms. Like what? Karen gave him a sweet, infuriatingly smug smile. Let's just say, the HOA has ways of enforcing its rules. And with that, she walked away, clipboard tucked under her arm. Nathan watched her go, jaw tightening. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That afternoon, the escalation begins. Nathan was in his garage, working on his classic Mustang, when he heard a knock at the door. When he opened it, he was greeted by a man in a crisp suit, an official city inspector. Mr. Carter? The man asked, holding a clipboard. That's me. I'm here to perform an inspection on your property. We received a report about an unauthorized structure and possible code violations. Nathan's eyes narrowed. Karen. He let out a slow breath. Fine. Let's get this over with. Nathan led the inspector to the shed while the man scribbled notes, snapping pictures. After about 10 minutes, the inspector flipped his notepad closed and nodded. No violations here, he said. Your shed is fully compliant. Nathan smirked. Glad to hear it. The inspector hesitated, then lowered his voice. Between you and me, the HOA calls us out all the time over petty complaints. Half the time, it's just a power move. Nathan's jaw clenched. Of course it was. As the inspector left, Nathan spotted Karen watching from across the street. Even from a distance, he could see the annoyance on her face. Nathan grinned. Round one. Him. But something told him Karen wasn't done yet. That evening, the next attack. By nightfall, Nathan was unwinding in his living room when his phone buzzed. It was an email from the HOA. Subject, second violation notice, urgent action required. Nathan's brow furrowed as he clicked it open. It wasn't just about the shed anymore. Now the HOA was claiming. White heavy checkmark his driveway had visible cracks that needed immediate repairs. White heavy checkmark his fence was an improper height and required adjustment. White heavy checkmark his garage door color was out of community aesthetic standards. Nathan laughed out loud. Karen was throwing everything she had at him. He didn't bother responding. Instead, he forwarded the email to a lawyer friend. If Karen wanted to play games, he was about to show her the rules didn't work in her favor. The HOA escalates the conflict. Nathan knew the second violation notice wasn't just about rules. It was about control. Karen wasn't trying to uphold any community standards. She was testing him, seeing how far she could push before he gave in. Big mistake. Rather than responding to the absurd list of violations, Nathan decided to dig deeper. If Karen was this obsessed with enforcing rules, there had to be something shady beneath it all. And he was going to find out exactly what that was. That morning, another violation and a sudden threat. Nathan was sipping his morning coffee when he heard a loud clanking noise outside. Stepping onto his porch, he saw a tow truck in his driveway, hooking up his classic Mustang. What the hell? Nathan stormed down the steps. What do you think you're doing? A stocky man in a reflective vest barely looked up. HOA order. Vehicles in violation. Nathan's fists clenched. Karen. Again. His voice was sharp. My car is parked on my own property. You better unhook it before you regret it. The tow truck driver hesitated. Look, man, I'm just following orders. If you got a problem, take it up with your HOA. Oh, I will. Nathan pulled out his phone and started recording. Time to make this public. Karen, as if on cue, appeared at the edge of the driveway, clipboard in hand. Oh, Nathan, she sighed dramatically, fake sympathy dripping from her voice. I warned you about the community rules. Nathan turned the camera toward her. You're violating private property laws. Karen's smug smile flickered. This is an HOA matter. Nathan took a step forward. No, it's a legal matter. Karen's confidence wavered as neighbors began stepping out of their homes, watching. She leaned in. You really want to play this game, Carter? Nathan grinned. Oh, I'm not playing. I'm winning. She spun on her heel and stormed off. The tow truck driver, now clearly nervous, muttered, Forget it, man. I'm out. And just like that, his car was safe. But Karen? She was furious. Nathan had just embarrassed her in front of the whole neighborhood. And he knew she wouldn't let it slide. Digging into the HOA's corruption. Nathan wasn't just going to defend himself. He was going to go on the offensive. That evening, he sat down with his laptop and started researching. Pushpin first stop, HOA financials. Most HOAs had financial reports that homeowners could request. When Nathan checked, something stood out, excessive fees and unexplained administrative costs. Pushpin second stop, Karen's HOA history. Turns out, Karen had been president for 3 years, and under her watch, HOA fees had tripled. Pushpin third stop, the selective enforcement list. Nathan reached out to a few other homeowners, asking if they had been fined. The answers were shocking. Right arrow, one neighbor got a fine for a garden gnome. Right arrow, another for leaving a trash can out too long. Right arrow, a third was mysteriously fined every time they spoke against Karen. Nathan had all the proof he needed. Karen wasn't just power-hungry. She was running the HOA like her own personal kingdom. And it was time to take her down. The HOA board begins to turn against Karen. Nathan wasn't the only one who had had enough. During his digging, he discovered that some HOA board members were uneasy about Karen's leadership. One evening, Nathan ran into Lisa, an HOA treasurer, outside the mailbox area. He decided to take a shot. "Lisa, you've been on the board a while. Ever feel like Karen's overstepping?" Lisa hesitated, glancing around as if worried about being overheard. "I probably shouldn't say this, but she doesn't exactly ask for our input." Nathan smirked. "She ever ask for votes before making new rules?" Lisa bit her lip. "Not really. And the fines?" Lisa sighed. "They don't go through the proper review process. Karen just decides." Nathan folded his arms. That was all he needed to hear. "Lisa," he said, lowering his voice, "do you want to be on the wrong side of this when the truth comes out?" Lisa's hesitation was brief. "No," she admitted. "No, I don't." "Good. Because the truth was coming out soon." The final push, Nathan's plan. Nathan now had white heavy checkmark proof of Karen's selective enforcement. White heavy checkmark evidence of questionable financial practices. White heavy checkmark a growing list of homeowners ready to fight back. White heavy checkmark an HOA board member willing to talk. All that was left. The final blow. Nathan pulled out his phone and started typing. Email subject: HOA violations and legal action. To the entire neighborhood. From Nathan Carter. Neighbors, I've uncovered serious HOA violations, including unauthorized fines, mismanagement of funds, and abuse of power. If you've been unfairly targeted, I urge you to come forward. We have the right to challenge these actions legally. Let's take our community back. Nathan Carter. Send. Karen had no idea what was about to hit her. The HOA oversteps and the protagonist strikes back. Nathan expected retaliation from Karen. What he didn't expect was how fast it would come. The next morning, his water was shut off. At first, he thought it was a city issue. But after a quick call to the water department, he got a shocking response. "Sir, our records show your HOA requested a temporary service suspension due to ongoing property violations." Nathan's grip on the phone tightened. "Oh, did they?" he said, voice dangerously calm. "Would you like us to restore service? We have no record of an actual violation from the city." "Yes, and I'll be filing a formal complaint against the HOA," Nathan said before hanging up. Karen had just made her biggest mistake. Shutting off someone's utilities without legal authority? That wasn't just an overstep. It was illegal. And Nathan was about to make sure Karen paid for it. Confronting Karen in public. That afternoon, Nathan saw Karen parading down the street with 2 HOA board members. Perfect timing. He walked straight toward them, holding up his phone. "Karen," he said loudly, making sure every neighbor within earshot heard him. "Did you really shut off my water?" Karen stopped, her smug smile faltering for half a second. "Excuse me?" Nathan held up his phone. "Just got off the phone with the city. They confirmed the HOA filed a request to cut my water, based on false violations." The 2 board members beside Karen looked uneasy. "That's standard procedure," Karen said quickly. "We have the right to enforce community regulations." Nathan took another step forward, voice sharp. "You don't have the right to tamper with utilities. That's criminal interference." Karen's face flushed. "Now wait just a..." Actually, one of the board members, Lisa, cut in, folding her arms. "He's right. We never approved that." Karen's head snapped toward Lisa. "You're siding with him?" Lisa crossed her arms. "I'm siding with the law." A few other neighbors were gathering now, listening. Nathan turned toward them, making his voice loud and clear. "This isn't about community standards. This is about power trips and corruption. And if Karen is willing to pull something this extreme, how long before she does it to the rest of you?" Karen's face went pale. She turned sharply and marched off without another word. But Nathan wasn't done yet. It was time to take this to the next level. Going public, the HOA's corruption is exposed. That evening, Nathan uploaded a full breakdown of Karen's corruption. Pushpin video title: HOA president caught illegally cutting off utilities. Here's the proof. In the video he showed white heavy checkmark emails proving selective enforcement. White heavy checkmark financial discrepancies in HOA fees. White heavy checkmark city confirmation that the HOA illegally shut off his water. White heavy checkmark statements from multiple homeowners who had been unfairly fined. Within hours, the video went viral in the neighborhood. Neighbors started sharing their own horror stories. A retired couple posted that Karen had fined them for using Christmas lights in March. A single mom revealed that she was forced to pay a $500 fee just to have a small kiddie pool in her backyard. And then the bombshell dropped. Lisa, the HOA board member who had stood up to Karen, went on record confirming Karen had been making up violations for years. Karen's carefully controlled HOA empire was crumbling. And the final blow? Nathan's lawyer friend had just sent him something beautiful. A cease and desist letter, addressed directly to Karen. The final showdown. At the next HOA meeting, Nathan didn't bother knocking. He walked in, cease and desist letter in hand, and slapped it onto the table. Karen looked up, startled. "What's this?" she snapped. Nathan smiled. "That, Karen, is a legal notice. You committed criminal interference when you tampered with my utilities. You also fabricated violations, illegally fined homeowners, and, according to my lawyer, possibly embezzled funds." Murmurs filled the room. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Karen laughed nervously. "This is absurd." "Is it?" Nathan leaned forward. "Because I also sent all of this to the state HOA regulatory board. And they're very interested in what you've been up to." Karen's face turned an alarming shade of red. Lisa cleared her throat. "Karen, I think we need to." "Shut up, Lisa." Karen snapped, losing her composure completely. Gasps rippled through the room. That's when Nathan knew. Karen was finished. Karen's final, desperate move. Karen had lost control. And she knew it. But like a cornered animal, she wasn't going down without a fight. Nathan had barely been home for an hour when he saw red and blue lights flashing outside his house. "Cops. You've got to be kidding me." Nathan stepped outside as two uniformed officers approached. One, a tall man with a no-nonsense expression, nodded at him. "Sir, we received a call about a dangerous individual threatening the HOA board." Nathan actually laughed. "Let me guess, Karen called this in?" The second officer sighed. "We can't confirm who made the call, but we have to investigate. Are you armed?" Nathan crossed his arms. "I'm a retired veteran. I have a legal firearm inside my home, safely stored. But unless words count as weapons, I haven't threatened anyone." The first officer pulled out a notepad. "We've already spoken to a few of your neighbors. Most of them say this is a false report." Nathan smirked. "Sounds about right." Just then, Karen came marching down the street. "Oh, officers. Thank goodness you're here." She put on her best fake distressed voice. "Nathan has been harassing me, threatening me, and I fear for my safety." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "You mean when I exposed you for corruption?" "That's called telling the truth, Karen." Karen dramatically clutched her chest. "He's doing it again. See? Aggressive behavior." The first officer exchanged a knowing look with his partner. Then he turned to Nathan. "Do you want to press false report charges?" Karen froze. "Excuse me?" Nathan tilted his head. "Wait, let me get this straight. You called the cops, thinking I'd get arrested. And now you're the one who might be facing charges." Karen visibly paled. "This is harassment. I'm the victim here." The officer pulled out a pen and citation pad. "Ma'am, filing a knowingly false police report is a serious offense. Given the circumstances, we're issuing you a formal warning. If this happens again, you will be arrested." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Nathan just smiled. "Guess we're done here?" The officers nodded and left, but Karen stood frozen in place. Nathan leaned in slightly, voice low. "That was your last move, Karen. You just lost the game." Karen's hands shook with rage. But she didn't say a word. She just turned and stormed away. Nathan watched her go. He wasn't sure what was more satisfying, watching her unravel or knowing that her downfall was just beginning. Karen gets caught breaking the law. The next day, Nathan woke up to a notification from his security cameras. Pushpin motion detected. 3:42 a.m. He clicked on the footage. And there she was. Karen. On his property. In the middle of the night. She was holding something in her hand. What looked like a stack of violation notices. Nathan fast-forwarded through the footage. Karen stuck fines all over his shed, his front door, even his trash cans. Then she walked into his backyard. Trespassing. Nathan's grin was instant. That was it. The final nail in Karen's coffin. He immediately forwarded the footage to his lawyer and the local police department. Within hours, Karen was getting a visit from law enforcement. Nathan stood at his window, watching as she answered the door. The moment she saw the officers, her face crumbled. And when they showed her the footage, she looked like she was going to faint. Nathan could only imagine how that conversation went. "Ma'am, do you realize this is criminal trespassing?" But I was just enforcing community rules." At 3:42 a.m.? On private property? Without legal authority. Karen stammered, scrambling for an excuse, but it was too late. The officers handed her a formal citation and informed her that the matter was being escalated. Nathan? He just sipped his coffee and enjoyed the show. HOA crumbles and Karen's downfall. Karen was done, and she knew it. But the fallout? It was just getting started. The day after she was caught trespassing, the HOA held an emergency meeting. Nathan didn't even have to attend in person. He just sent the security footage to Lisa, the board member who had started turning against Karen. And Lisa, she did not hold back. The HOA meeting, Karen gets exposed. Nathan sat on his porch, calmly listening through his phone as Lisa played the security footage for the entire board. Speaker high volume. This is from Nathan Carter's property last night. As you can see, Karen trespassed. In the middle of the night. She posted fake violation notices and tampered with personal property. A loud murmur erupted from the board members. What the hell was she thinking? Someone muttered. Then Lisa's voice again. Speaker high volume. This is just one example of Karen's abuse of power. Over the last 3 years, she's issued thousands of dollars in bogus fines, interfered with homeowner utilities, and oh right, she also tried to have someone arrested for standing up to her. Karen's voice cut in, shrill and defensive. Speaker high volume. This is a witch hunt. You people have no idea how hard I've worked to keep this community in order. Lisa didn't let her finish. Speaker high volume. Actually, we do. That's why we took a vote. You're officially removed from your position as HOA president. Dead silence. Then, speaker high volume. What? You can't do that. Another voice, one of the senior board members, calm, firm, and final. Speaker high volume. Karen. The HOA charter allows for the removal of a president if a majority vote is reached. The vote was unanimous. You're done. Nathan leaned back in his chair, grinning as he listened to Karen lose her mind. Karen tries to fight back, and fails. Karen did not take her removal well. For 2 days, she tried. Warning, threatening legal action against the HOA board. Didn't work, she had no case. Warning, trying to rally homeowners to stand with her. No one did, most were celebrating. Warning, begging to be reinstated. The board refused. And then, her worst nightmare became reality. Lisa sent out an official HOA-wide announcement. Pushpin subject. HOA changes and Karen's removal. Dear homeowners, as of today, Karen, last name, has been officially removed as HOA president due to multiple violations of ethical and legal standards. We understand many homeowners have suffered unfair fines, fees, and harassment. If you believe you were affected, please submit your claims. We will be reviewing and refunding wrongful fines. Sincerely, Lisa and the HOA board. Translation: every scam Karen pulled was about to be undone. Nathan could only imagine how she reacted when she read that email. Karen's final humiliation. A week later, Nathan saw something he never thought he'd see. A moving truck in front of Karen's house. Word spread fast. Apparently, Karen was facing so many lawsuits and HOA claims that she couldn't afford to stay. Nathan stood on his porch, sipping coffee as he watched her angrily direct the movers. She turned and spotted him. For a long moment, she just stared. Nathan raised his mug in a silent toast. Karen's face flushed red. She spun around and stomped into her house one last time. And just like that, she was gone. The HOA faces full legal consequences. Karen's removal was just the beginning. The HOA itself was now in serious trouble. Nathan had already forwarded his evidence to the state HOA regulatory board, and Lisa, now acting HOA president, was working to undo years of Karen's shady policies. But when the official audit results came in, everything exploded. The HOA is fined and investigated. A few weeks after Karen's departure, Lisa knocked on Nathan's door, looking equal parts relieved and exhausted. You're going to want to hear this, she said. Nathan invited her inside, and Lisa handed him a thick packet of legal documents. Pushpin official HOA audit results. White heavy checkmark Karen had illegally inflated HOA fees to fund unnecessary projects, without board approval. White heavy checkmark over $30,000 in administrative costs were completely unaccounted for. White heavy checkmark several fines issued to homeowners never made it into the HOA's official financial records. Nathan raised an eyebrow. So, Karen was stealing. Lisa sighed. Pretty much. And now the state's slamming us with fines for improper financial practices. Nathan smirked. How much? Lisa hesitated. $50,000. Nathan let out a low whistle. Oof. The worst part, Lisa continued. The HOA doesn't have the money. Nathan's smirk grew. So what happens now? Lisa hesitated. If we can't pay, the HOA might have to be dissolved. Nathan set his coffee down, grinning. Lisa, that might be the best news I've heard all year. The homeowners fight back. After the audit results went public, homeowners started filing lawsuits for Small Blue Diamond unlawful fines, Small Blue Diamond harassment, Small Blue Diamond financial mismanagement. Nathan helped organize a class action lawsuit, ensuring that every resident who had been unfairly targeted by Karen got a chance to get their money back. By the time the dust settled, the entire HOA was in ruins. No money, no power, no future. And the best part, Karen, who had once ruled the neighborhood like a dictator, was now powerless. The state HOA board's final decision. A month later, an official letter arrived in Nathan's mailbox. Pushpin subject, HOA dissolution notice. Nathan skimmed it quickly. Due to extensive legal and financial mismanagement, the HOA governing neighborhood name is hereby formally dissolved. Nathan let out a satisfied chuckle. Karen spent years abusing her power. And now, her entire kingdom was gone. Karen's personal downfall. The HOA was gone. But Karen's problems? They were just getting started. With the HOA dissolved, every single one of her shady actions was now under legal scrutiny. Lawsuits piled up. Refund demands rolled in. And her personal finances? A total disaster. She had spent years fining homeowners for ridiculous reasons, and now? She was the one drowning in fines. Karen's courtroom meltdown. One afternoon, Nathan was grabbing groceries when he ran into Lisa. You hear about Karen? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Nathan smirked. What now? Lisa grinned and held up her phone. She tried to fight the lawsuits in small claims court. It did not go well. Nathan glanced at the screen. It was a local news article. Pushpin headline. Former HOA president faces multiple lawsuits after HOA scandal. He skimmed the article. Small Blue Diamond Karen tried to argue that she was just doing her job. Small Blue Diamond the judge shut her down immediately. Small Blue Diamond the verdict? Karen was ordered to pay over $15,000 in damages to affected homeowners. Nathan chuckled. Guess karma finally caught up with her. Lisa nodded. And it gets better. She lost her job. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Wait, Karen actually had a job. Lisa laughed. Yeah, she worked in property management. Nathan nearly doubled over laughing. She ran an HOA, and she worked in property management? That's peak villain origin story material. Lisa smirked. Well, not anymore. Word got out about what happened here, and her company fired her to protect their reputation. Nathan shook his head. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Karen's last-ditch effort. That fails miserably. Despite losing everything, Karen still refused to take responsibility. For weeks, she was spotted going to City Hall, demanding the HOA be reinstated. The officials? They laughed her out of the building. She's been in there at least 4 times. One of the clerks told a local reporter. She keeps saying the neighborhood needs strong leadership. We keep telling her she's never getting that power back. And finally, she gave up. Her house? Listed for sale. Her reputation? Destroyed. Her power? Gone forever. And Nathan? He sat on his porch, watching as her moving truck pulled away. For the first time since he moved in, the neighborhood felt peaceful. Epilogue and final mic drop. With Karen gone for good, the neighborhood felt different. No more random fines. No more power trips. No more Karen. And Nathan? For the first time since moving in, he could actually enjoy his home. The neighborhood moves on. Lisa officially stepped down from the board once the HOA was dissolved. I never wanted to be part of it anyway, she admitted with a grin. Homeowners who had been fined unfairly started getting their refunds. thanks to the legal settlement. Nathan even hosted a small barbecue to celebrate. Neighbors who had once been afraid to speak up now laughed and shared stories about Karen's worst moments. "This woman fined me for having a garden gnome," one guy said, shaking his head. "She told me my front door color was too aggressive," another neighbor added. Nathan chuckled. "Well, at least now we're free." Final moment of karma. A few weeks later, Nathan was checking his mail when a neighbor walked up, grinning. "You're gonna love this," they said, handing him a printed-out screenshot. Nathan glanced at it. It was a job listing. Pushpin position, HOA administrator. Pushpin location, gated community, 30 miles away. Pushpin hiring manager, Karen last name. Nathan burst out laughing. Karen had lost everything and was now working for another HOA. She really can't help herself, huh? Nathan muttered, shaking his head. His neighbor smirked. "I was thinking about submitting an application, just to mess with her." Nathan clapped him on the shoulder. "If you do, record it." Final mic drop. One evening, as Nathan sat on his porch, Lisa walked up and handed him an envelope. "What's this?" he asked. She grinned. "Consider it a parting gift." Nathan opened it. Inside was a fake HOA violation notice. Pushpin violation. Being too good at taking down corrupt HOA presidents. Fine, 1 free beer. Nathan laughed, shaking his head. "You people are never going to let me live this down, huh?" Lisa smirked. "Not a chance." Nathan lifted his drink. "I'll allow it." And with that, he leaned back in his chair, finally at peace.